you today?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good, doing good. You're in the States right now, yeah? Or you are,
Work. Yeah. I'm actually leaving for Europe in 2 weeks, but
okay,
getting ready for that.
amazing. So fun, so fun. And your child is how old?
I have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old.
And a 2-year-old, yeah. So first transatlantic flight or not? Or
Oh no. Oh no, no. They've been
oh,
traveling since they were born.
oh, that's great. That's great. Yeah, I think I took Julian on his first, like we went to Italy when he was like a year old. He had his passport when he was like 2 months.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I mean, for me, it was like a non-brainer because, our whole family is in Europe. So I was like, I just want to be able, especially because my son was born during COVID. So I was like, if they can't come, so we have to go.
exactly, exactly. No, I totally get that. So that'll be fun. But thanks so much for jumping on. I'm super excited to get to have this conversation with you. Basically, how this conversation will go is we will start with background, industry trends you're seeing, kind of how you got started, and any challenges you faced along the way, where you hope to be, and then finally we'll wrap up by exploring any sort of next steps if it makes sense. So,
Right. So more business oriented.
yeah, I
Or
would say business, we'll see how it like every single conversation I have has its own like organic flow. So I would say we'll start with the more like masculine business, but I think it might open up in a different way itself. So but yeah, so Lucy, I am really excited to get to know your why behind. Oh, of course. So let's start this over. Oh my God.
I love it.
Perfect.
I don't know. I didn't know if you started anyway, so that's good. We have a second. I have a cat too. He does that sometimes.
I and like yeah, it's just
That
I
will go in the BTS.
exactly the bloopers will be perfect. The ins and outs of entrepreneurship and not having my own podcast studio. So, but yeah, so Lucy, can you share a little bit more about, why you decided to leave maybe a cushy career to pursue entrepreneurship, why you decided to start Foodie Bebe?
Bebe Foodie, yeah.
Yeah, Bebe Foodie, my bad.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can tell you a bit more about myself. So first, I'm Lucy. I'm the founder of Bebe Foodie. So Bebe Foodie is an app that guides parents in introducing solids for their babies. We launched the app in February, so it's been kind of a pretty interesting roadshow since then. And yeah, I can definitely tell you a bit more. First, I'm French. I live in the US. I have two kids that were both born in the US. And they're a big part of the story that led me to where I am today. One, because I've always been into nutrition, even before I was a mom. But two, I realized how much of a, interesting topic that was when it comes to your children, especially when you want to do things right. And there's really, I would say a lot about motherhood that's transforming in terms of like figuring it out. But food is really something that's really big and raise a lot of questions and worries for parents. So when I started first imagining Bebe Foodie, it was mostly led by the fact that there was like an area of interest, especially on the American market, to kind of like make sense of the information you would find online and having like, the correct information. So more like expert backed and trustworthy information. But then as I became a mom myself and experienced all this, even though I've always felt like, I know the deal. I I'm into nutrition myself and I will obviously know exactly what to give my babies because I'm going to trust my guts. I realize that there's a lot of opinions, there's a lot of things that you read online and it becomes a lot of like this bigger question mark for you into figuring out what to give, how to give it, what to serve, and like who should I trust, who should I listen to. So that was really like I would say the very first steps into imagining a platform that we not only give a content that is backed by experts so that you can trust it, but also just overall make it easier for the parents to just like have everything that they need at their fingertip right away without questioning it twice. And that really listens to their own, lifestyle needs, feelings, A platform that's basically embrace everything that's great for their baby, but that's also good for the parents and that they can trust to add into their life and not them who have to change everything to fit into their baby's needs.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for kind of highlighting that piece because I know as parents, we see so much information out there. We see, oh, you should try baby-led weaning. You should do the mashed foods or, hybrid of the two. What does your platform kind of help highlight as far as the like, baby-led weaning, the recipes, all of that?
Yeah, well, we're a strong believer of a middle ground when it comes to parenting. Baby-led weaning is great. We think there's a lot of great studies around baby-led weaning. There is a lot of benefits for children in general, and if you feel comfortable as a parent to do it, you should absolutely do it. But we also believe that there is a middle ground in what makes you comfortable doing certain things. And what you see online a lot, for me, baby-led weaning is kind of like the new breast is best, meaning if you don't do it that way, you might miss an opportunity to provide this for your child, or you might see picky eating later in life, or, adding another layer of stress, which I strongly believe is not necessary. For me, it's more like giving the right piece of advice that meet parents where they are. So it's like, you don't want to do baby-led weaning because it's stressing you out. Great. Here is a plan that matches your belief, your comfort zone, so that we can create what is the most important, a healthy relationship with food for both you and your baby. Because babies, they do get all of the anxiety too. If the parent is like on the baby's face, because they're so afraid of them choking on that piece of cucumber, that's not going to create a healthy, environment for the baby to appreciate that piece of cucumber. Versus if the parent is more comfortable, just puree that cucumber at the beginning and then slowly go to finger food later, that's also totally fine. What we want to provide with Bebe Foodie is that timeline. So it's like, all right, well, you don't want to start right away. Here is like how you can do it slowly so that we can bring you to that by the time your baby is maybe like 9, 10 months old. And it's still within the window of opportunity for them to discover new textures and new shape without stressing you out and still providing all the benefits of exposure and diversity that is the most important, as well as just, a great moment for both the parent and the baby when you discover food.
Absolutely. I think that's such a good way of talking about, what you do as far as like, hey, let's not add more stress. Let's try to subtract it from your plate. So let's try to alleviate some of that stress. And
Yeah. And it's the case for a lot of different topics, to be honest, when it comes like little thing I act like as like, don't use a silicone bib or have a platform for your baby's feet on the high chair so that it can support their back. All of this is great. It's all backed by research. It's all great advice, but it's also not, I think, in my opinion, it's putting added layer of stress and nervosity. And it's very much like, hey guys, I think, doing with what parents have in the moment is what matters the most. Them wanting to do the best within their environment and what they have available is what we want, right? Not being like, no, that high share is really bad. You should have never portrayed that. You're doing such a bad job, because that's the message the parent is going to hear when they read a message like that. It's not going to be like all that pressure that we see from all experts or influencers online is very much going into the parent's brain as like, I'm failing as in my job as a parent because I haven't purchased that very expensive high share with a platform for my baby's feet.
exactly. And I think you touch on a really important topic and subject of like this feeling of enoughness or even mom guilt, something I think a lot of moms can relate to. How have you can give an example, like how would you say like it would be a good way to even just manage the mom guilt? What advice would you give other moms?
Well, one thing that's not always easy to do, and I think we all struggle with this at different level, is obviously trying as much as possible to trust your gut, because a lot of time you know your baby best. So one thing I like to say about how we provide advice with Bebe Foodie is not necessarily like telling you what to do, but more like providing you the right level of guidance for supporting you in your journey.
Mm,
And it's like meeting you where you are so that you can basically take the information that you need out of it. If I give you an example, baby food, right? Like pre-made baby food is one big topic.
mhm,
You might want to be that mom who wants to cook everything from scratch, but you might not feel like you have the time for it or just the energy. Maybe you're working full time, maybe you're solo parenting. There's a lot of different reasons why you couldn't provide that. Then on my platform, I want to be able to provide the right information for when they have time to cook, but then also information. I was like, okay, so here is, I'm going to help you kind of like select the right baby food on the market so that for those days where you're struggling, you can just go for that solution and that's okay. And it's also just like baby food, but also simple solutions like frozen veggies or pre-cut fruits or a can that is BPA free, sodium free. You know, I would just say like if you select a can, that's perfect. Just make sure it's sodium free, BPA free. If you select tuna, just make sure it's in water, not in oil. You know, those kind of things. Maybe those brands are like lower in mercury than others, you know, like kind of like guiding in that direction. So it's like when you do your grocery, you have easy solutions. We're just with our team of experts guiding you through those solutions. When you have time to cook and you have time to make like batch cooking for the week or offering those fresh vegetables that are in season, great. But if you don't, and there's a lot of easy solutions out there that are still very good for your baby. And again, it's a question of balance, as always, right? A cookie is not bad per se. Giving a cookie every day might be, but giving a cookie sometimes is okay. You know, it's like a balance.
absolutely, exactly. I think it's something that as moms we're all doing the best we can. And it's not about getting it right or perfect every single time. It's really about having the resources and how can we like work with where we're at and meeting us where we're at, which sounds like you're doing a really great job with at least the food piece. And that's a huge part of it. It's like the food is what makes our kids grow. And like we give them the right nutrients, we teach them young, to reach for the fruits and the veggies rather than like, the processed foods. And like I think it really equips a lot of parents with the proper resources early on. How have you seen maybe this trend of whether it's I guess, how have you seen certain trends impact your business or growth strategy?
Well, you mean in trends in like parenthood or like more like content that's online or
I would say the trends that you're seeing, whether it's the content that's online, maybe even the more trends that we see with AI, how have
Mhm.
you been incorporating maybe the AI strategy into your growth? Say more about that.
Yeah, so I think I'll answer that question by going more into like when we did our little market research and looked at what's out there in terms of solution for parents today.
Mhm.
Um, there's really are three ways parents will look for that kind of information. One will be going straight to the experts, right? So going through a dietitian, nutritionist, and just meeting and getting like that plan. So it's a very obviously backed by experts, personalized experience. The downside of this would be that most of the time you don't have access to your dietitian in your pocket
Mhm.
24/7. And most of the time when you have an urgent question of like, you know, I don't know how to cut that food, or I want to find a quick recipe for this, or like I need to offer that allergens, but I'm a little freaked out. That happens usually like, you know, around that, like, I mean, early in the morning or like around dinner time. And it's like you want the answer right away, which is not the case when you can't contact your expert right away. And then also it can get pricey all those sessions. So finding a solution that's like available to you 24/7 is one thing that's important. Then you could go straight to all the blogs and resources online. There's plenty of them, community of parents, Instagram. There's a lot of information you see, and we all do it. We all look. But one thing that really comes out of that is that it's very lengthy because you just end up spending a lot of time searching for the information you need, navigating all those blogs or just like that post that you saved on your phone like 2 months ago. And then also it's a lot of opinions and it's a lot of different voices, and it's not always trustworthy because a lot of people claim to be expert, they're not necessarily are. So that's also that added, I would say, layer of stress for parents to be able to really find the information that they feel they can trust, and also the time that they invest into finding that information. And then the last will be really much like kind of what we do, like apps and online platforms, online courses. And there's a lot of amazing resources out there, to be honest. A lot of people and companies that do what I do are here, with similar missions. One thing, though, where we really differentiate ourselves here is again on the voice. In terms of app, what we're really trying to do, and you talked about AI, one thing we're really trying to do here is to customize as much as possible the experience for the parent into our app, because we want them to find the information that they need right away and that matches their unique baby. So that includes their baby's age, their baby's solid food journey, so when they started solid exactly, so that they can be sent into the timeline at the right place, but also family dietary preferences, their comfort zone when it comes to methods of introduction. So, puree, baby-led weaning, or combo of both. And also being able to track any allergies and update the app accordingly. So obviously we have, we launched in February. So there's a lot of feature we want to add. We had to launch eventually. So we're not having all of those features live yet, but that's really the direction we're taking, is like customizing as much as possible the experience for the user so that they really feel like the app is designed for their baby, and that they don't have to navigate through a lot of pages to find the information they want. And then obviously the philosophy is very key. Again, like what we just talked about, which is like, we're not here to tell you one way of doing it. We're just here to give you the guidance across different way of approaching it, so you can really select what you need in the moment. You have 5 minutes to cook, here is what you can do. You don't have time to cook, here is what you can buy. You want to prep for your entire family of 5 or 6, here is an idea for a family recipe that you can adjust from like 6 months all the way to 5 years old or more.
Incredible, incredible. It's like I think what I'm hearing is the idea is that you're wanting these families to feel seen and heard through technology, essentially. That it's like they're not just getting this like experience of, oh, here's a blog, here's this resource, here's this. It's like, no, let's give you an actual experience that makes sense for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, what do you feel like has been working well? What has been a little maybe more challenging or frustrating?
Um, it's a complicated industry because when you talk to parents, you need to build trust, right? We do have a very good website with lots of great resources and a great team behind all of the content. I have 8 experts, and they're like doctors and allergists and feeding therapists, nutritionists, chef. So we really are covered when it comes to, the level of quality of our content. So when someone finds us through a resource, or, through directly our website or an event, it's easier to build that trust because you can send them, they would have searched for the resource, read it, really understand the message behind Bebe Foodie, and have time to build that trust and understand. Same thing for events, because a lot of time they're either going to meet me or one of my experts, and they're really going to feel seen. But in order to really like reach out more people, you need to, do ads and like have more marketing channels that are a bit more vast, and finding the way of building that trust when all they see is a 40 seconds ad on Instagram, and then they click and then they see 10 slides on the app stores that don't tell them much. It might be a little harder to build that trust and for them to really like see the benefits of Baby Foodie right away if you haven't really like taken the time. So we're really much into a testing phase in meeting the parents where we can find them, and being able to convert in a larger scale. So yeah, we're still searching, very much so, but a lot of things we're doing is like giving access to free resources and connecting through a guide, through emails, adding our users to like a certain flow that will give them access to videos from our experts, answering specific topics that they should be living in that moment, understanding our users, behavior, and what they're looking for is very much at the center of every marketing action we're taking at Bebe Foodie.
Amazing. And where do you hope to be in the next 6 or 12 months from now?
Well, we really hope that we've made our little spot into as a trusted, resource for parents and a reference in that world. Other things we're developing is more content for later in age. So right now we launched with a first membership that's for babies aged between the moment they start solid foods all the way to 18 months. So that's about 1 year of that first, solid food journey. The reason being that it's so much content to develop and create, and this whole timeline is so much detailed. The logic behind it is very complicated that we just had to select, one area of their life. But ideally, we'll be coming out with more content for toddler and potentially membership for toddlers so that parents can continue growing with Bebe Foodie. Obviously, more resources when it comes to just recipes and really being that partner so that they can just pull their app and find a recipe very quickly, or like just build they like a weekly grocery list and be that companion in their everyday life. And then otherwise really much continuing customizing as much as possible and adding like more features around community and a sense of like connection with the current parents using the app.
Amazing. Well, and then what would you say has been like your continued motivation? What's really your driving force behind Baby Foodie?
Honestly, it's been such a long journey and there's been so many ups and downs. But right now, one thing that, looking back, I'm very proud of is the team
Mhm.
that, I built along the way and the people that really believe in the mission, especially my experts, because they all work in clinics or they have their own patients and they have very busy schedule, but they really really see, and they work with parents all the time, so they really see how that could benefit parents and even their own profession in terms of providing that information in a very easy format for parents. So the fact that they're so mission driven and invested in what we're building is very heartwarming. And just connecting along the way with brands that shares similar values, and that is a very amazing industry to be in. It keeps growing. You see like new parent tech companies all the time coming. It still is not in the spotlight as much of investors, but I'm pretty convinced it will. And it's starting to be. Um, I believe I don't have the exact number, so I don't want to say something stupid, but I think there's like probably like $1 billion that has been invested since like parent tech has been a little bigger, which I think is going in the right direction. And you do see more and more investors looking into that market because it is really the future. Like all of the people having kids right now are millennials or Gen Zs, and what are those people using? They're using apps or tech tools for pretty much anything in their life. So parenting is no different. Sleep or behavior development, education, resources, anything at any stage, honestly, like from like baby to teen and even older, parents need that resources and that support. And I think it's great that you see more and more companies going into that direction.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Lucie, so much for sharing your insights with us. I'm really excited to hear what our audiences have to say about the app. Tell me, can they find you on the Google Play, App Store, all
On the
these?
App Store only for now, so you just type Bebe Foodie. Google Play will be coming most likely next year. And then otherwise, our website is bebe-foodie.com. There's a lot of great free resources on there if ever they're interested to look. Or we're also on Instagram at bebefoodie_.
Thank you again. And it was so wonderful having you on.
Thank you so much for having me, Rachel.